Hey there! Today I watched a new film called Ballerina and now want to tell you about it. Ballerina is a crime action set in the world of John Wick. Unlike the main franchise, Ballerina follows a new character called Eve. The story is about how she came to be trained by the Ruska Roma and her seeking revenge on the men that killed her father. Shay Hatton wrote the story, and Len Wiseman directed the film, which stars Ana de Armas, Angelica Houston, and Gabriel Byrne. Keanu Reeves, Ian McShane, and Lance Reddick also make surprise appearances throughout the film. Okay, so this is your typical John Wick style film with ridiculously cool action sequences, an unstoppable protagonist, and a lot of cool location work. The story follows the same pattern that most superhero origin stories do. There's a happy family that gets struck by tragedy, and then the hero grows up to be a formidable force and takes vengeance upon their attackers. It's simple, to the point, and serves as a vehicle for all of the action and flavor the film has to offer. The screen time is centered on telling Eve's story with a few cutaways to the villains run by the Chancellor, which means that Ana de Armas does the heavy lifting in this film, leaving Gabriel Byrne to play the supporting villain. De Armas's Eve is a confident young woman who slowly loses her humanity over the course of the film. Like most action heroes, she doesn't have much of a personality to begin with, but De Armas does get to do a lot of action posing and stunt work. Gabriel Byrne's villain is a confident older man with vicious tendencies. Byrne gets to do a few monologues and a bit of exposition work. Keanu Reeves also appears for a brief stint in the movie and gets to do a few action sequences and deliver a few lines. It isn't a lot, but he supports the new franchise and helps connect it to the original films. The visual journey is a 2-hour stunt fest in a plethora of places. For locations, they travel all over the world and film in famous buildings, in front of awe-inspiring landscapes, and within carefully crafted sets. The action is creative, varied, and impactful. For the soundtrack, they've got a little bit of classical music and then a mix of modern techno, heavy metal, and tension tracks for the rest. Most of its focus was on hyping up the moment, or trying to infuse flavor into the scenery, which brings me to my review. It's a solid film that doesn't quite meet the level of quality the first film had, but it is still enjoyable. For positives, its story is full of action and excitement. The cast does a decent job of their roles. The visuals are spectacular, and the soundtrack is solid. Starting with the story, it's basically just adrenaline for 2 hours straight. They stop every 20 minutes or so to drop a little bit of exposition, but then it's right back to non-stop fighting. There's fist fighting, knife fights, gunplay, explosions, vehicle chases, and even a flamethrower fight. They also do well enough with setting things up that you want to root for Eve and to see the Chancellor lose. Cast-wise, there is a lot of good stunt work happening. They do action poses, they fight, and they face off against each other in little duels. The cast even does a good job of it, making the entire thing look and feel semi-realistic while still being super entertaining. Ana de Armas plays the unstoppable Eve, and she does a fantastic job making her seem like a force of nature. She does a good job delivering her lines and playing off of the other actors. They didn't give her a lot to do, but when it came time for her to shed some tears and reach deep for the emotions, she pulls it off decently. Gabriel Byrne, Angelica Houston, Ian McShane, Keanu Reeves, and the rest of the supporting cast aren't given much to do, but do a solid job of maintaining the film's image. They give it the gravitas it needs to work, and they play it with a lot of charm. Visually, the film is high quality. It sets the story out in a clear and easy-to-follow manner and does a fantastic job of creating flavorful scenes that you want to watch. It uses top-tier locations with beautiful imagery for backgrounds and then creates big sets with lots of destructible objects for the foreground. The characters are dressed like suit-wearing Yakuza and wield the latest and greatest in weapons technology. It's got a ton of visual flavor, and the top-tier action comes non-stop. They have all kinds of different fighting styles and techniques, and they incorporate a huge variety of different weapons. It's kind of like watching someone play a new hack-and-slash game for a few hours. Sound-wise, the film does its job, but doesn't go above and beyond. The Tchaikovsky piece does a good job of creating a thread through the film that you can hold on to, and it fits nicely with the ballerina theme of the character. The other tracks add quite a bit of flavor to the different locations and help flesh them out, while the tension tracks do a solid job of hyping things up during the combat. None of it is overly memorable, but they do their job well. Which brings me to the negatives. The story is nonsense that does whatever it wants. The cast doesn't get to do any real emotional work, and the soundtrack just doesn't stand out. Starting with the story, it's about a one-woman army that ignores all forms of damage. She takes on hordes of men and they politely come at her one at a time. I know the John Wick films are supposed to be fantasy, but at certain points it becomes clear that the only reason Eve, or John Wick for that matter, are still alive is because they have major plot armor. They also don't do a good job of explaining the villain's motivations or their relationship to the Ruska Roma. They don't make it clear why the villain is so dead set on getting this one girl back alive or why the Ruska Roma are so afraid of them. It's just cuz, and we're off. When it comes to the cast, they don't get the opportunity to shine that they need. There's no big emotional moments, just action. Even when they do approach an emotional moment, it gets cut short by more action exploding onto the scene. The closest anyone comes to making a memorable character is Ana de Armas. She's given a lot of screen time, and a little bit of opportunity for emotional work and character building. She does what she can, but it's just not enough to make Eve anything more than a generic action hero. Sound-wise, there is one memorable song in the film, and it's the tune from her little music box. It plays periodically throughout the film, reminding you of the little girl and her trauma. It's a solid piece, and shows that the film's makers actually do know how to make the music iconic. They just didn't put that level of effort into anything else here. There's a lot of generic pieces of music that are basically what you expect from the scene. They're in a club, better play some bumpin' techno tracks. There's a bad guy around, better play something with rising tension to make this feel stressful. It's not bad by any stretch, but it's not different from other films. It's just the standard. Personally, I enjoyed this film, but I don't see it as anything new or special. It's a John Wick film with a woman in the main role instead of a man. There's no real story here, and the characters are more like archetypes than real people. It's fun to watch, and they have a lot of great stunt work here, but it's at best an entertaining film. It doesn't rise to the level of a masterpiece, and it's unlikely to hold up over time. If you enjoy a bunch of well-shot action, it's great. If you need a little bit more than that to get into the film, it might not meet your standards. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 6 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on Ballerina. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye!